Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, it's Joe back out here at Giga-Texas, and there is, as always, a lot going on here at the site. A couple of things that I want to talk about in the intro before we get into the actual drone flight. First off, over on the west side of General Assembly, where the Model Y exit point has been, we are seeing some of the reconfiguration work of some of the exit points themselves. In fact, one of them has been completely removed. The ramp has been removed, and they have saw cut some additional openings. And it looks like this whole area, including the perimeter grade beam, is being made back into receiving doors to kind of extend what we see very close to this location. Now, there is still that one exit point with the one ramp for the Model Ys that once the production is done, they exit the factory here and then go over to the outbound lot. But this is part of more reconfiguration work that's going on the inside to prepare for enhanced production in 2025. Now, moving to a different site down on the southwest corner, the glass company is busy installing more of the large glass panels. In fact, now we can see by this video clip that they're in that angled portion where the width or the height of the glass panels starts getting lower and lower. And you can tell by the lifting jig, this yellow item, it has these large suction cups, and using the crane how this is done. Interestingly enough, nearby, the window line from the extension doesn't really match up to the window line of the original part of the building. And as you can tell, at least on the bottom level, that window line is twice as big on the new section than on the old section. So how they're going to make sure that this looks architecturally pleasing, that'll be something that we'll have to watch and see what they do. I think they're going to have to remove some of the old wall panels and fix that window line to match. But that'll be something that we watch. Now, another area that I do want to highlight is up at the south end of the switchyard. This large clearing that continues to have work being done here. It's very close to the Megapack site, and as we've heard with the Colossus supercomputer cluster at XAI with a recent video that came out, there is some need to have kind of conditioning of the electrical power to prevent micro frequency changes that can damage the Cortex computer here at Giga-Texas. Now, it could take the form of more Megapacks, or it could take the form of using some of those large transformers that we see on the west side of the highway being stored. In any case, this is a prime location for some of this activity and installation, and is definitely something I will be monitoring, and we'll see how this progresses, what they actually do, and when it looks like it's going to be operational, because that will give us a big clue of what is going on with the Cortex computer cluster at the south end of the factory. So that'll be it for the intro and the various items that I would like you to pay attention to during the video. So let's get into the drone, let's fly around and see what else is going on here at Giga-Texas. As always, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good early morning here at Giga-Texas. A little bit of low clouds and mist, but otherwise not a bad day to fly. There's a lot of activity going on that we'll get a chance to see. We're going to first start off here on the northwest corner of the 4680 battery cell portion of the factory. As we round the corner, the tank on the left is that new nitrogen tank, which is part of the production of the 4680s. Also, the blue bin that you can see on the left being lifted up by the truck is part of the recycling of the cans for the 4680s. They're bringing a newly emptied bin today and getting ready to pick up the full one that you can see, and then it will be taken off site to Austin Metal and Iron for recycling. And this is something that we've seen often on this part of the factory, especially as they get the new production lines for the 4680s ramped fully up. Now, there is a little bit of work here that is new. The concrete next to those doors on the left, getting ready for the stairs, and just some minor work on the ground with the concrete that has been removed in this part of the factory. Now, we're going to see a lot of this kind of work along this entire side of the factory as they continue to make some changes, do some upgrades, and kind of reconfigure inside this part of the factory, which is general assembly, to prepare for the new production coming up in the new year. Now, this is a good example. You see the Model Ys that are exiting from the factory. This is that exit point. It used to be the end of line inside here until they built the new facility on the west side of the highway, and there were 2 doors and 2 ramps. Now, one of the ramps has been removed. They've saw cut in these new receiving doors, and they are doing a reconfiguration work of the perimeter grade beam for more of the receiving areas. So inside, this is all being changed, and the routing point for the Model Ys eventually will be at a different part of the factory. And we will see that here very soon, and it may actually be using part of the boring tunnel that has been installed in the south part of the factory as well. So definitely something to keep watching. This is another area we continue to see these crates being delivered, unpacked inside, and then brought out, broken down for recycling. And a lot of work and rework inside the production lines in this part of General Assembly has been going on as well for several months and is getting close to having it completed. And that is yet another great sign for what's to come in 2025. This is the exit point for the Cybertrucks. This is temporary. The exit point will eventually be inside the factory, in where you can see this gravel path and underneath over towards the tunnel, and then they will be going directly through the tunnel over to the west side. The glass company continues to do the installation of the glass on this side of the factory. As we talked about in the intro, the line of glass on the left matching up to the original line is a little bit different right now, so we'll see what they do architecturally. In addition to that, this is a great view of the work using this lifting jig with suction cups and counterbalance, picking up the large panes of glass, and how this is installed. Also tell that we are in that part of the window line that is gradually getting smaller, kind of that angled part. So each of the panes are kind of dedicated cut for these parts of the factory, and we can see how that continues to be installed. Also getting a very good look at how this part of the factory will appear once all of the glass panes are installed. There are a lot more waiting for their chance to be installed, and you can tell with these trailers and the crates with some of the glass panels still here waiting for their turn to be moved over for installation. I did notice that on the southwest corner of the cyber pond, they are seeding the berm with this kind of grass seed mat, and it's also very close to that fork in the road, and this will continue all the way around the cyber berm, and it's part of the erosion control to kind of keep that from washing down into the cyber pond. And we'll continue to see how this progresses. But as I turn around, this is a nice look back to the factory with the fork in the road here at this corner between River Road and the North Road next to the west side of General Assembly. The south end with the 3 emergency exit tunnels and the 3 levels of the berm or terracing here. Looks like it is continuing being readied for the road on the top and the walkways on the middle layer. And more of that grass seed has been placed here, but it looks like it's kind of brown right now. So we'll see if that takes root or if they have to do that again. As we get over towards the southeast corner, pointing the drone off to the distance where we can see the excavation work in the middle of the screen for that natural gas pipeline. It extends underneath River Road and to the north, paralleling the Cyber Circle Road that is on the east side of the factory. The chilling plant, the activity is mostly next to that pipe that is coming up out of the ground and angling to the two connection points. Looks like they may be preparing this section for concrete in the near future. And then we'll see the connections made with those pipes. As I continue to pan the drone over towards the southeast corner of the factory, it's a nice look into the second level, also the ground level with the new ramp, the interior structures that house the Cortex supercomputer cluster, and then here more of the interior HVAC system that is on the second floor. Now, as I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, a good look at the work that's going on the roof, especially that center section right over the cooling section of the Cortex supercomputer cluster, and the cables to power that Cortex system is continuing being run from the north side all along the parapet wall to this end of the building. Here's a great look down at that large pipe and the prep work that I had mentioned with looks like kind of a plastic membrane. It may be a moisture barrier as they get ready to most likely fill that area in with concrete. And we can see two of the fans, the two northernmost fans, operational today. So I'm going to pull away and give a different view of this east side of the building between the plant, the cooling plant on the left and the extension on the right. Also on the ground, we can see those red items. That's part of that bridge crane. Also the SPMT that has been used to bring some of the new stamping press parts to this part of the factory. And we saw a great view of that on my previous video. So let me continue to maneuver the drone over the parking garage and give you a view here of the earthwork that is going on just to the south of the parking garage and how this is continuing to develop. And also the grass seeding that has been done on the berm next to the riprap, kind of broken up rock in the middle of the screen next to that lined pond. And the workshops and the materials that we see at the center bottom of the screen is for the glass company. And this is well positioned, so when they begin the glass installation on the east side to finish up the extension, they'll be able to use this area pretty easily. So let's continue to maneuver the drone around the south side, take a look at what Giga-Texas looks like from this vantage point today. West side of the highway is very active, especially near the warehouse on wheels with all of the trailers, and at the bottom of the screen more of the conduit installation. As I understand it, the lighting that will be placed along River Road here will soon be operational, and that will make a big difference with how dark it is here during the evening hours. And it's something that they really have been trying to get finished for some time. Now, this staging yard with all of the steel corrugated pipes, some of the concrete vaults, and also the transformers continues to see a lot of work with materials coming and going through this section. Some of the steel being used inside the factory to build out the production. In addition to that, this is a look at this large field that has had grade work also being used for dirt both coming and going. It looks like they're storing more in that area. This is a look at this staging yard. On the left, a lot of the steel has already been moved inside, and of course those transformers that are possibly going to be moved up and installed to the south of the electrical switch yard, as we discussed in the video intro. As I fly over the power lines, and this is a good look at this material staging yard with some of the workshops at the bottom of the screen, and also looking back towards the main factory. As I get in closer, this is a view of more of the materials that have been brought here, staged, and will most likely be part of more production equipment installed into the factory very soon. As we continue to work our way along this part of the staging yard, see even more. I think it's about 100 of the transformers, those white boxes on the right hand side of the screen, more of the spools of cable to wire them, and in addition to that we see those larger white boxes. Those are part of a cooling system that are used for data centers. I'm going to continue to come back over to some of this crated material and also the APNT press on the left that is still waiting for installation. And we can tell that all of these boxes with the silver colors and the wooden ones have been marshaled and are stored here for that movement very soon. And as I continue to get closer to the stamping press parts, we can tell that they've been well wrapped with that brown wrapping. It looks like they are working on another one of those large items, and we'll probably see those wrapped as well to try to keep them out of all of the rain that is coming through this area. But as I continue to maneuver here, this is a great view of all of the various parts of this large press, and we'll continue to watch that as it's moved over for installation. The outbound lot is quite busy today. Nice to see so many vehicles being stored here, getting ready to be picked up by the transport trucks. A lot of Cybertrucks, a good mix of the Model Ys as well. And as I've mentioned, with the internal work that's going on with the production lines, it's been somewhat disruptive of what is going on with what we see with the production, at least for now. But I think they're going to be in a great position come 2025. I'm also going to stop here at the Boring Company tunnel. We can tell that there's more excavation work here at this grade change, and also excavation work being done in the front part of the tunnel. This looks like it's more trenching, possibly for conduit, but all of this area eventually will be ready for paving and also just sort of roadways that will allow the vehicles coming out of the tunnel to proceed to the outbound lot and end of line facility on this side of the highway. And with those three Boring Company crew in the opening, that gives you a great sense of scale of the size of the tunnel. I've had some people ask if the Cybertruck actually fits in there, and the answer is yes, it does pretty well as the Model Ys. Now, at the We Robot event, we saw that RoboVan. That is probably way too big to fit into the Boring tunnel. Also, this is a look at the prep work that continues here with this eventual parking lot and or access point for the end-of-line facility, maybe more superchargers. And speaking of which, not only is the supercharger site here very busy, but on the right-hand side of the screen, we see the first of the V4, the newest and fastest versions of the superchargers being installed. You can definitely tell the difference between the older and the new ones. The new ones are black and white, a little bit taller. The old ones are that red and white with the opening in the middle. And I don't know, but maybe they will upgrade all of these here at Giga-Texas in the near future. But definitely something worth watching. Another good view of the outbound lot on the north side with all of the Cybertrucks being stored. There are many Model Ys as well. And of course, here at the north end of the end-of-line facility, all of the vehicles entering in for the final processing before they are shipped out from Giga-Texas. Shows a good view here of the entire west side of the General Assembly and part of Giga-Texas. So I'm going to fly up over the roof and take a look at some of the work and activity that is going on here on the east side of the main factory. And as we cross over the power lines and see the cyber circle, we'll start here with the old testing and calibration lot. And there are several cyber trucks that are stored here, some of them using the Superchargers. And as I've mentioned before, all of the other vehicles are employee vehicles taking advantage of the free charging. And next to the helicopter pad, that Rainmaker and the wind tunnel is still here, although the generators, it seems, have been moved away. Now, some of these materials, the pipes that you see, are part of that cooling system on the south end of the extension, and those are waiting for their chance to be installed here, but most of that has been installed already, so there's very little left over. Here at the East Warehouse on Wheels, not only do we see the trailers with parts for production, but also we see these black trailers that are essentially large recycling bins that take up the scraps from the stamping machine section, and then eventually this is taken off-site for recycling. I noticed that there were several trucks lined up here getting ready to go through this part of the site. And not sure exactly what they are bringing in, but it could be just more trucks filled with production items for that East Warehouse on Wheels. It's also a good look at some of the trailers and workshops, materials, and other equipment that is stored on this part of the site. And it is worth noting again that all of this on the east side of Giga-Texas that are related to construction will all be removed at some point, and I expect additional construction for Giga-Texas permanent structures here in the near future. Now, this is a look at the battery cathode plant on the right and the die shop here in the center of the screen, bringing the drone down a little lower, trying to see if there is any interesting activity that is going on. It does look like some equipment has been delivered here on the side of the building and getting ready for installation. As we wrap around the north end, we not only see the furnace, but also more equipment that has been stockpiled here that is going inside for installation. And in addition to that, there's a delivery of these white items to that furnace. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is. And we saw an excavator going into the factory, or at least the die shop, so there's some additional work that is related to construction inside as well. The chiller plant is looking more and more completed from the standpoint of there are no more of the rental cooling units and generators. It seemed pretty much standalone. However, the dirt section that we see just to the north appears to be the area where they will have an expansion at some point in the future, and that'll be something I continue to watch. Hopefully I'll get some permits on that as well, and we'll know exactly what's going on. As I go over the tree and take a look at this small lot, this is that equipment that we saw being delivered. It's being unpacked with those crates and moved in, and it's part of the battery cathode production part of the cathode plant, which is great. Also, we see more of these black pipe-like units being picked up and removed from this section of the site. I don't know if this means that they are being moved inside for assembly or if they're being moved to a different part of the overall site. But this is a good look at how the west side of this complex of structures looks today. Now I'm going to take a look from this vantage point over the battery cathode plant towards the facilities on the east side. On the left is that cell test lab. We also see in the middle of the screen the Wade pit, one of those large trailers for the construction companies. And of course, this is what the crash test facility looks like today, that large black new perimeter fence around the entire structure, plus many of the vehicles that have recently had some of the crash testing completed. The small building on the bottom right is the mechanics room, and that's also where it has the machinery to pull the cables, bringing the vehicles into the crash wall and for other testing. And as I continue to maneuver back towards the west, up over the cathode plant and the die shop, let's proceed over to the electrical switch yard, take a look at some of the changes that are going on there today. Zooming in, we can tell that the footings continue to be finished up here. And the four larger ones on the right look like it's footings for the A-frame structure, and then additional steel items will be installed. The V-type circuit breaker looks like it is mostly installed and connected. And of course, down here next to the slab and the catch basin, more of the footings. The larger ones are for the A-frame structure, and it will be very similar to what we see in the upper right of the screen, and then additional steel items that will be installed. And again, completing what we see with the middle two steel structures, it'll be very similar to this side. Also, I wanted to give you a look at the clearing here on the south end. It continues to be prepared and grow in size. And there's also a little bit of, it looks like, rocks or stones on this side of the site. I don't know if that's just being cleaned up or what they are doing with that, but I expect to see this clearing get larger and longer and head towards the south even more, and that'll be something I continue to watch. This is a great overall view of the entire switchyard, that clearing, and the Megapack site on this side of Tesla Road. So I'm going to reposition back towards the east side of the casting machine structure, and let's take a look at what is going on with the assembly of these new structures. This large overhang structure with the receiving doors and kind of that blast wall is part of the processing and the recovery of aluminum that is melted back down from the furnaces as scraps of the casting process for reuse. In addition to that, the baghouse filtration plant is definitely coming along. This is to essentially ensure that the atmosphere is good for both the employees and for the equipment that is inside the casting machine structure, and it's designed to do not only filtration but also to remove a lot of the particulates that may be in the atmosphere. So that is definitely progressing as well. On the roof, we see the new stairwell access in the center bottom of the screen. On the left is the new ducts and the ducted fan units that are part of that ventilation system as well that was added to the site over the last year. And then here we see the cabling and also the cable trays that are part of the power system that is powering or will power the Cortex supercomputer. And the temporary platform is used for those large spools of the cable to allow the crews to have easy access and pull the cables off of the spool and to install along the entire parapet wall for the length of the building. Bring the drone down lower so we get a slightly different view of this structure that is part of the furnace and the recycling process for the aluminum that is, again, the scraps from the castings. And this is a good view of how that is progressing. It's a good also look at the base of that temporary platform, the crane, more of the rack mounts for the castings, and of course this new casting management and sorting lot is definitely full. And again, as I've mentioned on several videos, it appears that the pace of making the castings is slightly different than production. The castings are made pretty much 7 days a week, whereas production is currently 4 days a week, and they are able to catch up over the weekends while the vehicles are transported off-site. And this is a higher altitude view of that sorting lot, the north end of the factory, and how all of this looks here today. So anyway, that will bring us to a close of this view of Giga-Texas on this slightly overcast, misty morning, but also just a great look at much of the activity and the changes that are going on all over the site as well. I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to talk about in the intro and through the video, and it puts into context more about what we are seeing and why 2025 is going to be such a great year for Tesla and Giga-Texas. Take care.